Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of December 12th through the 18th of 2022. All right, so this week we have essentially the implementation of the full moon. We had a full moon last Wednesday. New shifts of perspective are usually likely during the full moon time periods. But the week following that is always good for implementation. We are in what's called the disseminating phase, the implementation phase of the lunar month, and also the third quarter, which is good to really start to action, orient ourselves, implement, integrate those insights from last week. Now the aspects this week, we have the Sun square Neptune on Wednesday. Neptune is that watery planet. The Sun is our vital life force. The square is a bit of a challenge there. So there can be the over or under extremes with the watery natures. So sometimes wanting to escape or hide away, or sometimes apathy or not enough energy with this one. But it's usually a good status check to see, okay, how can we focus and align things so it is more important to our soul, to our spiritual self. And so it makes it a great week, middle part of the week around Wednesday for spiritual activities, creativity, imagination, anything that is a healthy expression of that watery Neptune. So then the later part of the week, we do have Mercury, the planet of our minds and communication, in good harmony with erratic Uranus. So we could be perhaps a bit progressive, innovative, thinking outside the box, and maybe some new and different experiences we can have perhaps over the weekend. And then at the end of the week, the Sun will be passing over the galactic center, as is the case this time of the year, which means that it has been a good time for healing. It's been the Sun in Ophiuchus, which is about viewing life through a deeper lens and what really matters at the end of the day, and perhaps bringing up some of that shadow stuff. But usually the galactic center is the deepest part of that, the apex of that. And so Sunday there could be a sort of transformation collectively. And then as we get into next week, perhaps more of that post-transformation or that more free-spirited energy of Sagittarius. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, December 12th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. So you will notice a lot of the signs are different. For example, we just had the full moon in Taurus last week, but perhaps you've heard it's in Gemini. So if the signs are sounding off, or it sounds like things are not where they're supposed to be, definitely check out that link down below for more information on using the visible sky called True Sidereal Astrology. Okay, so let's do a bit of a recap, see where everything is, because we did have some sign changes last week with the Mercury and Venus going into expansive Sagittarius. But we still have that deeper energy, certainly, as is always the case this time of year. The Sun is right in the middle of Ophiuchus, the healer constellation, coming into this week. And so it is still very much about viewing life through the lens of the shadow, of the deeper dimensions of life. And not only the deeper world, but really how to work with it. As we get closer to that galactic center at the week's end, we really get to the deeper energies. And the apex is usually around that galactic center. So it's all about exposing the shadow, being aware of it, both within ourselves and whatever gets reflected back to us from our outside environment or our relationships. And acceptance, is really the key. Ophiuchus is about redemption, redeeming these exiled parts of ourselves, the shadow that we've pushed away, that we've said we are not or we don't like about ourselves or of life or of others. And so this gets illuminated to be accepted. Now we've already done a lot of this already with the Sun already here, but Mercury and Venus were here the prior couple weeks. But this is finishing up here this week, as the Sun will finish Ophiuchus by around Sunday, maybe a little into Monday of next week, and then start to go into that post-transformation of Sagittarius. But we do have that post-transformation energy. Venus and Mercury are here. Venus is what we value and how we connect in our relationships. And so this could be enjoying a bit of the free-spirited natures. Philosophy, spirituality, abstract stuff, maybe adventure. These types of things, great way of connecting and enjoying right now, and just thinking in a more abstract and bigger picture way with Mercury, right? Good for, again, thinking about things in a more philosophical, meaning of life, abstract way, or in a way that's more towards inspirations and possibilities and potentials. So that's certainly going on as well. Now Mars is of course still retrograde. He's not going to go direct until mid-January, and so it is still a time of re-examining our needs, who we are, what we want, and most importantly our initiating side. And this is where we had the full moon last Wednesday. It was in a very close conjunction with Mars. And so that was illuminated last week, is how we can perhaps further develop our initiating side. And again, this week is a great week for implementing that, as we will be coming into this week in the disseminating phase, the implementation phase of the cycle. And then by Wednesday, Thursday, the third quarter, the action-oriented phase of the lunar cycle. Okay, so yeah, so still good to be, though, reflective, examining, re-examining, experimenting with our assertive, initiating side with Mars here, and even cultivating some of those inner resources that Mars in Taurus is all about. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, the 12th. We have a minor aspect on Monday. The sun will be sextiling Saturn, so there could be just an opening for some productive energy, maybe a little bit easier to be disciplined, responsible. It's an opening for that more grounded side of things. The moon will be in protective Cancer on Monday, so there could be some themes around creating a protective environment for ourselves and others. At least that's always a good way of working with that sort of Cancerian energy there. But as we do get to Tuesday, that's where the bulk of the energies will be. Tuesday through Thursday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the moon will be in Leo. And so this is a great time to express ourselves, to connect with our hearts, to connect to the people and things that are close to our heart, and even expressing that. So a great time for playfulness, fun, creative energies, entertainment, right, self-expression. Now this is the third quarter moon, which means that it's very different. It's in a square between where the sun is. As you can imagine by what we're talking about, the sun in Ophiuchus is very deep, healing, transformative, and Leo is fun and expressive. So these are different, and so the challenge here this week is how to integrate these two very different things. How can we still focus on the deeper dimensions of life and what really matters, and perhaps doing some of that shadow energy, working with that shadow energy, but in a way that's seeing it on a lighter side, or a side that we can have fun with, or let out some of that creative energy with it as well. So good to see how we can implement some of that water and fire, okay, that deeper and creative energy or fun energy of that. And there is a bit of the clash there with the sun and water, the fire and water. In this case, the sun is going to be squaring up to watery Neptune. And this is going to be mostly centered around the Wednesday time period when we do enter that third quarter moon. So the sun, our vital life force, our fire, our expressive nature, just like Leo, is in this clash with deep, watery Neptune, which rules Pisces. And so the natural tendency with this collectively is to go to the extremes. Just because it's a square, it's going to tend towards imbalance. And this can be perhaps lower energy, lethargy, feeling a bit lost or confused about things, or maybe getting too caught up into some dreams or ideals, too far into the ethers. So it's all about being aware of that influence and channeling it constructively. Squares are all about building. At least that's a great way to work with the squares. And in this case, constructively building or implementing the watery energies, right? So of course, spirituality, mental health, spiritual health stuff, physical health stuff as well, even creative energies that deal with our imagination or intuition or channeling energies of types, right? And constructively finding ways of having peace. In fact, challenging ourselves to find healthy ways of finding peace in life through meditation or these spiritual activities, or rest or sleep. Can be a great way of working with this sort of square here. Okay, so really connecting with our soul is what this is about, and anything that is soul guided, then we don't feel so much of that lower energy, right? The lower energy and stuff comes from when we are perhaps pursuing things more from the ego perspective, in the physical world perspective, whereas the square to Neptune reminds us to connect with our soul and to make sure that whatever it is we are focused on or whatever it is we are doing is important to us on the soul level. And when it is, then it flows. right? And then the lower energy and stuff won't be there usually. So this kind of thing with this is the challenging aspect we have this week. There will be a square between Mercury and Chiron going into Thursday. It's nothing major here. Again, just emphasizing the importance of this healer energy right now, and anything that is constructive around that physical or spiritual healing energy, or working with the shadow, or working with the deeper dimensions, perhaps with Mercury involving some communications or learning, could be a good way here this middle part of the week. All right, but again, the moon in Leo, it's all about integrating that deeper energy with that creative self-expression. Then as we do get to the Friday and onward time period, the moon will shift into pragmatic Virgo. And so that concludes the week there, Friday through Sunday, around improvement. Good time to do this anyways. See what can be improved in our life, maybe taking care of some things, some routines and structures can always be good with that. But yeah, it's more on the earthy side of things there in terms of things that do require a bit of that self-discipline, improvement, taking care of things, working on things. Certainly the theme there, the later part. And this is where we'll be easing up off of the square energies of the lunar cycle and the squares, well, yeah, the squares that we have with the aspects here midweek as well. Okay, and then Saturday, we do have Mercury in good harmony. So Mercury, the planet of communication in our minds, is going to be in support with Uranus, which is about having new experiences, in this case mentally or communicatively, and even with our routines as well, especially with the moon in Virgo. So great to think outside the box, right? To use some of that innovative mind, progressive mind we can often have with this type of energy, and learn new things, communicate in new ways, have new experiences in our day-to-day life, right? Anything that's about getting outside the norm, challenging our own status quo, in that context is fantastic with this, okay? And then again, the sun will be in its apex with the galactic center around Sunday, and so still, right, in this sense, the deeper energies, there could be a sort of transformation. Again, it happens every year, nothing too major, but just a really good time to listen, to connect inward. It's a very spiritual time. And as a result, we shed skin, we transform, the phoenix rises out of the ashes, and then that takes us into early next week once the sun will pass over that galactic center and start to head slowly into that free-spirited Sagittarius. All right, everyone, so that is the week in a nutshell. Most important thing here is the implementation of the full moon from last week. Great week for this. Challenging ourselves to do it, particularly this Wednesday, Thursday time period, as we do have the third quarter moon, and this good way of challenging this spiritual energy constructively here in our lives. The middle part is good for self-expression and seeing how we can implement that self-expression with the deeper energies. And then towards the weekend, perhaps some of that improvement of Virgo, refinement, taking care of things, but with a dose of new experiences mentally, communicatively, in our routines as well, and perhaps this sort of deep final transformation Sunday into next week. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a free newsletter where you do get these videos released first before YouTube, and extra announcements and content not normally released on YouTube. So do sign up down below if you haven't yet. It's absolutely free. But again, have a great week, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.